All right, here we go. Vital Performance Studios again, just like every other week. We have a very special guest, another Lindenwood coach with us. This is the Vital Wire. All right, Caitlin, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome,
I'm excited.
Yes. So I don't know if you've seen any of what we've been doing, or if you've had or listened to our podcast or anything. I know we have some connections here, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But super excited to have another Lindenwood coach on as we're seeing more student athletes. But before we jump into that, I just kind of we want to learn more about you. We were introduced to you by a team member that we have, my assistant, Janie. And so I was like, well, it's only right that we talk to her. So what is it you do? How did you get here? Where did you grow up? All the things. Go ahead.
Gosh, well, that's a loaded question. But I guess we can start from the beginning if we want. I guess that's the easiest way. So I coach gymnastics here at Lindenwood. That's the moral of the story. I'm the head coach here. This is my second season, but I love gymnastics. I started when I was 3 years old, so just kind of been in it ever since. Yeah. And it's been a roller coaster of a ride, but the best one, just because I feel like it got me to this point where I feel like I'm really just at the place where I'm supposed to be, which is cool. But yeah, so I did gymnastics and my dream was like gonna go to the Olympics and like do all the things. And then I realized that I was definitely not as talented as some of my other teammates who were actually trying to go to the Olympics, which was cool. I was able to be around those type of athletes every single day and trained with them. And so I just learned a lot growing up in that environment, and it was very intense, but also just learned the value of like hard work and discipline.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Blue Springs, Missouri. So I'm a Missouri girl through and through.
Wait, I love that. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Blue Springs South.
Oh my gosh.
So go Jags.
And graduated when?
I graduated in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. And so so it's like that feels like 20 lifetimes ago. But
Don't start with me.
It really does, because I feel like I've lived so many lives since then. But in a good way.
Yes.
After you graduated high school, where did you go?
So I ended up getting a college scholarship to Nebraska for gymnastics.
Oh, cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so I competed there, and it was just the best experience. Absolutely. Loved my coaches there, loved my team. Actually, one of my teammates is my assistant coach here now.
Oh, nice.
Which is
I love that.
awesome. It's been really, really great just because, like, you have somebody who knows you, like, at that deep level as an athlete, and now we're adults and like doing the thing, and I don't know, we can just, I know she has my back, I have hers, that kind of thing, which is really cool. The dynamic
and the trust there is super, especially as you transition into a new program at a school, right? You're literally building this program still, and you guys are doing amazing, obviously.
Thank you.
But to have that trust is a big deal instead of like, oh, you hired an assistant coach for me, let's get to know each other.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, well, and that was like one of my things too. It's like, okay, I could hire, I don't know, that's like a whole process, like right when you get a head job, it's like, okay, now I have to build a staff.
Yeah.
But like my big thing was like, okay, who do I want to be around every single day? And who do I feel like is actually going to have my back and just support me and believe in me and like what I want to do.
Right.
And that's just, and that's going to be, that they're going to have the same vision, and I knew that was her for sure.
And know how to challenge you in all the right ways and like see a perspective.
Yes.
And it's so much easier when you have that. And we kind of, the team we've built here too, it's like, I tell my team all the time, like, call me out, like, tell me no, like, that's not a good idea.
Yes.
And you're able to take that very much more easy than it's like, wait, I don't think you know what I'm trying to do here. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And we have a really cool relationship. We're very opposite people.
Yeah.
But in, like in the best way.
How so?
She's very like
who is it?
Her name's Sienna Krause.
Okay.
So she's like very like black and white to the point. but also like if people like didn't know her, they might not understand like how funny she actually is, but she's hilarious. Like, but you have to like be there for it. You have to like be ready for it. Like just super like dry humor, just like really funny.
I know. I
like once you get to know her, you're like, okay, like she's really funny.
I love that.
But she's like very like logistical, like that kind of thing, and I'm very much like the creative brain and big picture, like that kind of thing, which is honestly perfect for our roles. Yeah. So she's kind of my logistics queen, is what I call her.
Okay. Yeah.
So she helps me like with all of the a lot of the dirty work, honestly. She just crushes it, and so I'm very, very thankful to have her.
I had Erin say that to me yesterday. I found out something very, very awesome about, one of our team members here, and she's like, I love documentation. Like I'm like, could never be me. Could never be me.
100%.
And she knows it, and we'll poke fun at each other for that sometimes, but it's like we're good in our roles, and I think that's what like makes it work.
Yeah. So having a solid assistant coach is like key. Like with the dance team I coach, I love my assistant coach. Like I talk about her all the time. Like it's not assistant coach and head coach. We're co-head coaches at this point because of everything that I don't like to do, she likes to do, and it just makes for the perfect dynamic. Yep. It helps your program succeed, and and obviously it shows. Yes. Yeah. Obviously it shows.
Yeah. Before we go down too far down that road, let's take a step back, because we also talked about some of your struggles right now as far as changing your name. So we've talked about, we've really dove in the deep end with all of the things that you do and love to do, head coach, assistant coach, but let's step back. Let's meet the husband.
Rewind.
What's your husband's name?
His name's Christian.
Okay.
And he actually used to coach as well. He used to coach at West Texas A&M women's basketball for a really long time, and coached a couple different places before then. But
him and I get along great.
So how did you guys probably meet then?
Yeah, so we definitely met online. And I was in Arkansas, an assistant there, and that he had just moved there to get out of coaching. And so his friend had an appraisal company, and so he was like, I'm just going to try this, work with my buddy for a little bit, and just figure out what I want to do. He just decided, I mean, if you know anything about the coaching world, it's a lot. And especially like...
It can be very taxing.
To make it really like worthwhile, it's hard to like make all the jumps, I guess, that you would have to make, especially in a sport like women's basketball. I think I'm very lucky in the position that I'm in. It would be a little bit more difficult for him to do something like that, just with where he was at in his life. So, but anyway, so we met online. I was like, it's really funny because I was like super against doing online dating. I was like, I'm never, like gross. Like I will never do that. Like I was like very prideful. Like I can meet someone in person. Like I don't need to do that. Right. But my friend at the time, she was our volunteer coach, Felicia, was like, no, like I'm making it for you. So she literally like made me a profile for me and started just like swiping for me. So like I wasn't even like doing the stuff. Right. Like she was doing it. But that was just her thing.
So you guys were together. So how long were you guys together before you got married? When did you get married?
So we just got married in July.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. But we dated for 7 months and then got engaged. Aww. So it was like
when
very
you know.
quick.
That was us.
And I'm sure like some people would be like, what? That's like crazy. But I just think like, where we were, both of us like in our lives, we were just at that point, and we just knew awesome. Like we were super confident in our relationship, and just like
God works in amazing ways. I don't even say mysterious ways anymore. God works in amazing ways. So it's
no judgment for the online thing, because technically we're together because of LU singles.
Hey, there you go. I did not know that was a thing.
Sort of, in a roundabout way.
We'll talk about that off the air.
Okay. Fair.
But I can definitely point out that you are very passionate and true to coaching, because as in true coach fashion, you had to book your wedding during the off season. Yes. During Dead Week, probably.
Right.
Yeah. Great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, because a lot of things that we do talk about on here too, and sometimes when we have guests too, is I like to be very empowering and shed some light and give some perspective. And, from the God perspective of, look, it was 7 months and we just knew, and building a new coaching program. I mean, you said a couple things that we could definitely, we'll have to do a part 2, and we'll have to get your assistant in here as well. But, you said, coaching can be very hard, and it's definitely hoops. And then you have the whole, how do you not let it become a business, but it is. And it's like, how do you serve? So you are very blessed in a position that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going to kind of go off on a limb here. But I feel like you are very blessed in the position that you have growing a new program. There's still a ton of passion behind and I think even with Lindenwood side of things, the faculty side, it's like, let's build an awesome program. There's still a lot of passion where hopefully the business side doesn't come too far too quick.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That is so good. So now let's jump back into the gymnastics thing then.
Yes.
When did you start coaching Lindenwood? And then let's kind of transition into what happened this year.
Yeah.
Because it was super cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got the call from the athletic director, I think, it was June of 2021. Yep.
Yeah.
And then got hired that July. And I was so happy where I was at. I was just very content.
And you were still in Arkansas.
Yep. I was still an assistant there, and I was just like absorbing everything and anything I could, just like learning.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved the area, all the things, and got that. And so I talked to my head coach about it, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm like really happy here. That didn't even cross my mind.
Right.
That would even be a possibility like that early. Maybe eventually it was definitely a goal in the future, but definitely not 2 years into coaching. And so
for sure.
Talked to her, and she was like, well, I'm just going to tell you right now, you're never going to be ready. It's just never, like, she's like, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. Like, I'll be here.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm really lucky I feel like I have the best mentors in the world. Like, I have just a handful of probably some of the best coaches who've ever coached.
That's so cool.
Which is just amazing that I can just call them up.
So
she really pushed me.
How did they find you?
I think just because I'm from Missouri originally.
Okay.
Fair.
So that kind of obviously was a draw. And then I think they were just looking for someone who had coached kind of at that next level. Because currently, when I was hired, we were Division II.
Okay. Yep.
And so who had coached at Division I and Power 5 even potentially. So I think that was a little bit of the draw. And then once I kind of came on campus and then met everybody, I was like, okay, like there's something really special here. And what's really hilarious about this is, so when I was like a little nugget, like probably like 5 years old, we would do like camps and stuff in St. Louis. Yeah. And we did camps at the gym that we train at. Like,
really?
And so now I'm there every day, which is like insane. So I have a picture. We train with gym quarters.
Yeah.
Gym quarters.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fabulous.
So we would go and do camps there like every summer, and I loved it. It was like one of my favorite camps.
That's a fabulous gym.
Yeah.
The owners are so sweet.
It's great. And so I have a picture of me and Scott, who's the owner.
Yeah.
When, like him on his knees, because I was like too tiny with the t-shirt that's like way too big for me. Like one of those pictures. And
that's so
it's just like super full circle. But like I don't know. There was like something about it. Like when I came on campus, I was like, okay, like I don't know. I just feel like I'm supposed to be here. Yeah. Even though I wasn't sure why yet.
Right.
But I just kind of felt like that's where God was kind of leading me to. Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to jump. We're going to go for it. And the first year was definitely like a lot of learning and a lot of like new and things like that, but also a great experience.
What did Christian say? What was his first initial?
He was pushing me for sure to do it, which was crazy because we had we had only been dating for like 2 or 3 months at that point.
No kidding.
And it just started to like kind of getting like serious.
Yeah.
At that point where we were like, okay, like I think this could be like
we're
the
not
real
wasting
thing.
our time.
Yeah. Well, and I was like, I was pretty straight up. Like at the beginning, I'm like, here's the deal. Like, I've just done this too many times. Like,
lay it out flat.
If this is not it, just let me know, okay? And I think he like appreciated that, and he was very similar, obviously, in that way. But so he like really pushed me. He was like, if that was me, like I would have jumped at that so fast. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, we're just gonna go for it and see what happens. And then and ended up working out, and I just. Yeah, I feel like all the stars kind of aligned. But
so your seasons are more in the fall.
Yeah, so we're January to like April.
Oh, okay. So winter into spring.
But we're year round, you know how it goes.
Yeah. It's like when's your season? Well, we practice all 18 months of the year.
All 18 months.
All 18 months of the year.
Yes.
Yeah, 26 hours a day, all 18 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
2021 was June 2021, hired in July of 21.
Yep.
And probably just fast and furious into the beginning of 2022 season. Mm-hmm. How was 2022 season?
Yeah, so my first season, it was good. It was a lot of like, I think just like learning the team and like what their goals were and where they were at, and like a lot of developing. And I'm really proud of just like, I look at like certain athletes individually. I'm like, oh my gosh, I like can't believe where you're at. Like I think of like one of our seniors that is graduating, going to PT school now. I'm so proud of her.
Good for her.
That's fantastic.
But I think she told me, she's like, yeah, my freshman year, I didn't compete anything. I didn't even catch one release move on bars the entire year, my freshman year. And then her senior year, this last year, she competed all around for us, everything. Wow. And
that's fantastic.
Is now multiple like All-American, All-Conference, like all the things. And it's just really cool to like see her grow in that and like grow in her confidence too. So that was really special. She's just one that I'm picking. Like there was a ton of that.
Right.
So I think like the first year, definitely just like kind of dipping our toe and figuring out like, okay, what do we have and where does the team want to go? And then this next year, we kind of like, okay, now we have a better understanding of like where everybody is at.
What was your biggest takeaway from the 2022 season? Your first year coaching as a coach. I asked Erin this, and she's one of the assistant coaches for the Lionettes, who also titled this. Just gave away. Also titled this year. And I asked her, I was like, if you could go back and be on and dance on your title team, or if you could go back and coach these girls to what you did this weekend, what would you take? And she's like, I'd coach in a heartbeat because of that. Yeah. It's like to see somebody do that and achieve that.
It's so special.
Is very cool. Yeah. So what was your biggest takeaway as a coach? What did you learn transparently?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I would probably do a lot of things differently, honestly. Yeah. Hindsight. And I think one, I would just tell myself to slow down and just like be more present. I think I was like doggy paddling a little bit, to be honest. And I'm pretty like open about that. But now like looking back, I'm like, okay, I would have probably, just slowed down a little bit and just like taken it more one thing at a time. Yeah. Cause I think, I know you go in like super ambitious and you try to do all these things, but you can overlook like the little things. And so I think that's like what we did so well this year, which was awesome. So it's almost like we kind of needed that to learn what we were really about.
So let me do this real quick. Here comes my empowerment side, because I think you're going to be able to help a lot of people. I mean, you two both being coaches at different levels but the same class of athletes. So let me do this because other people are going to listen to this, coaches, guys, girls, doesn't matter. What would you say going into now a D1 program, let's teach you now a D1 program, after your first season in 2022, what would be the 3 things that you learned and tips that you would give to either coaches now or that want, aspiring or girls that want to be coaches? What are your top 3? Slow down, take your time.
Slow down, stay present. I think that's a really big one, and just like enjoying the moments, like the little things with your athletes. And I think they really appreciate that more than we think as coaches. Like you don't have to. I think sometimes as coaches, you feel like you have to put on this facade or this. I don't know, super authoritative, like whatever. Yeah. And like to some extent, like, you need to do that. You need to discipline them and all those things. But I also think you earn their respect by just being with them also. And so I would say that's probably like the biggest advice I would give to people. And then enjoy the ride and like continue to like, don't second guess yourself. Don't like question yourself. Like just keep trusting the process. Because I know everyone says trust the process, which is super cliche and annoying.
No, but it is.
Everyone says it.
Yeah.
but it really like, there is nothing to me that like proves it more than just like how this year went. Like, no, just like trust yourself. It's not going to happen right away. And that's something that we tell our athletes all the time. Like this year might not be your ideal year, and that's okay because next year might be, or the year after. And it's time and it's a process, and everybody, everyone has their time. Everyone peaks at like different times. And so just like trusting that you're doing everything that you can, and doing it the right way. So
I love that too. What you just said, everybody peaks at their own time. Like not, like understanding obviously you really understand your athletes.
Yes.
Which is
sometimes
something
too much.
But that's also
sometimes they don't like it.
Right. But that's something that is like beautiful in a coach to have because not a lot of coaches do that, and they'll push their athletes too far, or they'll sit them for no reason. Yeah. Where if you know the level that you need to push, if you know the level that they may actually need to sit out or need to step away from bars, like go run a lap, go take a lap on the mat, come back, and then you can try that skill again. Like knowing your athletes that far, 100%. No wonder why you're such a successful coach. That's fabulous.
There was, obviously we've been working more with the dance teams now and the football teams, and we spoke here. The Lionettes coach brought all the Lionettes here, and I talked to them. They were all we were sitting over there.
Super
it was
fun.
A lot of fun, and they were asking some pretty great questions personally. Like, I love the mental health side of sports, and so helping them. But my goal too, I think, is also to help coaches with something you said that's very important, is knowing your athletes, but to an extent of not losing yourself in it, holding your authority. But what I told the dancers and what I've told actually some other coaches and other people because all these athletes, other people are depending on them in different roles, not athletically. And sometimes there's a little stigma to that. And it's like, no, I don't care. Like you have to get this stuff done. And they, as an athlete, it's hard. But what I want other coaches and even other professors and things, it's like, grace is a big thing. And you have to remember, even as a coach, you're dealing with a person. And that is huge. And that's what I've told a couple of my athletes too. I was like, that have been injured. I'm like, look, at some point in time, you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to let them know that you're a person. And if you need to do that, that's okay. But that's super important.
I feel like that's a big, it's hard as athletes. I mean, I definitely like dealt with it myself. I trained 35 hours a week for 7 years.
It's a full-time job.
In club. I was a part-time student. Like, that was my dream. That's what I was doing. So my identity was totally gymnastics. Like, I was gymnastics. And then went to college and had to figure out, like, and a lot of that, like, figured it out just coming to my faith on my own. Like, grew up in it, but then it's different when it's yours, right?
100%. Absolutely.
But definitely, like, figuring out, like, okay, I'm not my results or not. I'm still valued even though I'm not making a lineup or whatever.
My results don't define me.
And so that was a really big learning curve for me. It sounds like, well, yeah, duh. Like, of course, it's so real, and 100% of my athletes deal with that. And which is, I mean, it's not great that they're dealing with it, but it's great because I also went through that. And I feel like it's something that I talk to them about all the time.
Like one of the standard questions that gymnasts, dancers, cheerleaders alike get is, well, did you win? And you're like, okay, that's not
Us baseball players got that too.
Okay, but because our dynamics are so different. It's like, okay, but
did you make the floor?
You go back on a flight from me, and some random person like sees you in your gear or your backpack or whatever, like, oh, did you guys win? Like
okay,
maybe we didn't win, but maybe we had like our best meet of the year. Which has happened for sure. But then you're like, no. And it's just like a stranger, so like it shouldn't matter, but subconsciously, like it does bother you.
This is exactly why I have
What
been
did you
pushed
compete in? Floor? Oh, did you win?
This is exactly why I have been pushed we're about ready to launch it, but I'm going to step into that space because I want to help so many athletes. And I think coaches still need some perspective on that too.
Totally.
Because I mean, I've been there as well. Like all three of us sitting in here have been through that. And it's like, how many resources do we really have for that? It's not, we don't need necessarily, you know, there's sports psychology is huge, and there's, you know, that can get to the pretty extreme side, but how many resources do we have that are genuine people that have been through it that can help just personally coach them through that? If they had that resource, would they take it? If their parents knew that was available, would they push for their kids to take that and be like, well, why don't you just find somebody you can talk through that with and grow in that space? And if that's something that we'll talk a little bit off the air because we haven't hard launched it yet. But I think stay tuned for that. And if there's anything we can do to help you here with that, that's going to be super exciting as well.
That's going to be cool.
So now let's talk about 2023.
Yeah.
Tell us about the 2023 season.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start with that one. It was a fun year.
Yeah.
It really was. I feel like the leadership that we had on this team, like internally, they wanted their goals way more than they cared about feelings, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they were way more motivated to achieve what we didn't achieve in 22, and they weren't afraid to like hold each other accountable and things like that. And I think it was really people pleasing a little bit before, but they kind of stepped outside of that this year, and I think that's what kind of took us over the top.
Yeah.
But then also just the fun that we had together was just awesome. I felt like we did a really good job as a staff this year, just like intentionally planning, even if the team didn't know, just like little things like once a month. Or team dinners, we had them over at our house all the time, just big team dinners and games. And I'm a big game girl. Yeah. We do lots of like competitions and like just like silly things. Yeah. And some of them might think, some might think, oh, this is stupid or whatever. But it's just like letting loose and just having fun together, because I think that like bonds you. And every single person at the end of the year, we just had our end of the year meetings. They were like, this was like the closest team I've ever been a part of.
Oh,
and I think that just like speaks volumes to what we were able to do and why we were able to do it, because the way we got there was actually so crazy, because we had a lot of different injuries and things like that. So our lineups in postseason, both our conference championship and nationals, weren't like what we had envisioned as coaches. It wasn't our max score potential, essentially, because we had a couple injuries here and there. But this team, more than any other team that I've ever been a part of, like genuinely like had each other's back. Yeah.
That's so fabulous.
And they stepped up, and it was like, no, like we're still gonna get to our goal. Like we're gonna make it happen. And so that was really cool.
So speaking of your goal and surprises, we love to do those kinds of things. Janie, this is...
Oh my God.
You'll have to watch this podcast. Surprise. You're not allowed to just listen to
it. So you can go ahead and open that up, because I still don't think you have quite let the cat out of the bag. But when you have a great year, you deserve to be recognized, and winning a national championship on any stage is a big deal, and you guys being 2023 champions, we wanted to give you something. So, in case you guys haven't caught it yet,
like super loud.
We are speaking to the 2023 USA Collegiate Gymnastic Champions head coach. So there is some gifts and some things in there for you. I don't know what else is in there, but I have an idea. Hopefully it fits.
Some cool T-shirts.
But there's
sweet.
So one of those is The Office. The other is what I was talking about that is going to be coming soon and soft launching now. Perfect. So those are for you. But now we can kind of continue conversation of, the 2023 year.
Yeah.
So having your team band together.
The doll's in there.
It's all good.
For her. It stands.
Okay, cool. Very nice.
So just tell us a little bit more about what did that look like, that competition where you guys won it? Like,
oh man, it was tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We came from behind the entire meet. So we started on vault.
That's a cool story.
And we actually did not have the best vault rotation. The scoring was really, really tight too. So it was a little bit, which is fine as long as that's consistent, obviously, across the board. I'm sure you know that.
Yes. As long as it's consistently tight, I'm okay with it.
Totally fine.
I have no idea how I'm still trying to figure that out. Mine was just, you have runs, and if you have more, you win. If not, you don't.
Yep. So. See, there's sometimes where I'm like, I wish that was the case for us, but
yeah, it could be 0.01.
Yes.
And you don't make it.
Yeah. So we started vault. It wasn't a bad vault rotation by any means, but it was just much tighter scoring than I think what we were used to throughout the season. So we were like, oh crap. So we were 4th out of 4 teams after our first 2 rotations. Then we went to bars, which still solid rotation, just not like super. It was good. I'll say it was good. It wasn't like great or amazing like we had been, but good enough. And so I was like, all right, like we're going to have to crush beam and floor.
Yeah.
And they did. And it was, you could see like, cause I don't know how like people are in dance, but like you have some people that are like scoreboard people where they like to look up at the score and like to watch. And then other athletes like you should
tunnel vision.
Do not move. Just do your job and just let it happen. Which is typically like what I like to tell them, but you can only control that so much.
Right.
With
they turn around,
with them announcing it every whatever in the arena. But so going into beam, I was like, all right, like we're gonna have to crush this, and it was probably one of the best beam rotations of the year.
That's awesome.
Went above 49 is like a really good score like on an event, and so we went I think a little bit above a 49 on beam, and I was like, all right, and so we were 2nd or 3rd going into the last rotation on floor, but I felt really good ending on floor because I knew we had a good floor team, and I also kind of knew where the people who were ahead of us were going to the other events that were scored a little bit tighter, which I learned after the meet. Bars and vault were just scored tighter. So we the draw worked for us in that way, but we still had to hit floor. We still had to crush it, and it was awesome. And it was just like routine after routine. And the coolest part was just like being in the little corral, and everybody just like getting emotional, like they could like feel it. They like knew.
The anticipation starts to build.
It was like I'm like getting goosebumps like talking about it right now. It was really, really special, and just to like I don't know, as a coach, like part of your job is to like help make their dreams come true.
Yes.
And help them do that, and so like to watch that like happen for them was like so special. Yeah. And then so then we're just like waiting for it took forever for them to announce the result. Oh my goodness. And so they're all like, I think we did it, but like, did we do it? I'm like, I think we're good.
Yeah. Aww, that's so cool.
And I'm like trying to pull up the live stats on my phone, and it's like not loading. And I'm like, oh my God. And then there was like inquiries that went in, which means from other teams means that they didn't get certain start values, whatever. So that means their score was going to go up or down. So I was like, oh God. And then like refreshing again. But I think by floor we had jumped ahead quite a bit. Like enough.
Yeah.
And so, but ended up doing it. It was just the coolest feeling when they just finally announced it for real, and they could like breathe and like, okay, it really happened.
Yeah.
And just to watch them celebrate. And I think I cried a little bit, but
I would have been a mess.
Maybe. It's funny because I'm totally not a crier. I like try not to do that, but
it's overwhelming.
Which is funny because my husband is so the opposite. Which is awesome. Yeah.
I cry at the drop of a hat, so I can't.
I know. I'm getting softer as I'm getting older.
It happens.
But I think it's good. But yeah, like it was just the coolest moment, and
that's
something that I'll definitely like never forget. And it was even cooler. Obviously, like watching the seniors and obviously everyone, but like specifically like the seniors and the freshmen, because it's like 2 different like worlds at that point. It's like the seniors, like this is like it, like this is the last meet. Yes. And then you have the freshmen, that's their first ever nationals. Now they're like, oh my gosh, like look what we can do. Yeah. And so it's just kind of like opening up a door for them for the future, and then for our seniors to be able to like go out like that was really cool.
It's super cool for everybody that's coming up and everybody, you know, that doesn't know what was done this year.
Yeah.
And then they find out. And, you know, I truly believe like St. Louis is very underestimated when it comes to athletes in general.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Southern California, oh, Texas, oh, like, but I think especially in the dance and call it performing, I'm not going to call it arts, performing sports.
Sure.
So dance and gymnastics. I think this is really a hub that people don't realize what talent is here. So what's cool about this too is it's like you're building a program that has a solid foundation and has the ability for this talent pool to, if they want to stay close to home, they can, and they know they can compete very, very well. What's very cool is from a team member standpoint and from being that athlete in those freshmen too, is it's like, just going to kind of call it what it is it's like, you've won a championship, and there's something about that, whether it's your freshman year or your senior year, it's been accomplished. And you have two options. You settle with that or you push. But at the end of the day, there's something to be said of looking back on your career and it's like, I did it.
Yeah.
And now this new class coming in and the 8-9-year-olds and these parents are seeing it. It's like, they have done it before. And my athlete has the opportunity to do it with this program, which is super cool. And that's a tribute to you. So congratulations.
Thank you so
for
much.
everything that you
it's very special.
have accomplished.
It's so cool.
We're definitely excited to get to know you and your team more. I wish I'd have been a little more in tune. I get pretty, focused with football players I see and the baseball players. And, you know, now that we have a connection with you, it's super on the map. I got choked up when Lionettes were on stage waiting. You know, they were sitting, kneeling, waiting for the results. And I'm like, and it happened. And I'm like choking up. I'm like, no. It
doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is when you do something like that. It's cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
So, well, as we wrap this up, what's on tap this summer going into the fall? What's the plan for the 2024 season?
Yeah. Oh man, a lot and good stuff. We're really, really excited. We actually have surprise. We have 2 of our seniors are coming back. So that's really exciting.
That's so cool.
And then we're actually getting 4 incoming freshmen and 1 transfer.
That's fabulous.
So we are going to have a stacked roster for sure.
That's awesome.
A big team, but it's also great because it just instills more competitiveness and I think everyone's just like motivated and has that like confidence and belief now. Like like we did it. And now let's do it and let's do it even better. And so that's kind of the cool part about like going into this next year and not that gymnastics is a little bit different as far as like Division I goes. We kind of compete the same, you know.
Right.
But I think our team is starting to believe that we can compete with the top of the top. In those top 36 teams, which is like who qualifies onto NCAA regionals. It's kind of a big long-term goal that we have as a program, and which was done once before, and so it's definitely a big goal to get back to. So
heck yeah,
they're starting to really think like, okay, maybe that's a possibility for us. So
100% it is. That's super cool.
Well, how is there anything that you need, or is there any way that this community, this city, this area can support you guys as a team? Is there any resources you need? What can we as a community do for Lindenwood Gymnastics? Anything?
Oh my gosh. One, come out to the meets. That's like the biggest way, I think. Just we had one meet last year. We actually sold out Highland, which was a dream of mine.
Wow.
That's fun.
And it was against Mizzou, so that definitely helps, just having like local people and a little bit bigger name, I guess. But it was just such a special day and such a full like student section too. So that was really cool. So more of the community, like seeing what we're doing, I think just like getting our athletes the exposure that they deserve, because they work their whole life for this. And for people to come out, and it's a cool thing. And like
really is.
Anytime like families that have never come, when they do, they're always like, oh my gosh, like when's the next one? Like it was so fun. And or I think, obviously I'm really biased, but I think we have the best girls. They just really engage with like the little girls and things like that, like after the meets, and do the autographs and things like that. So it just having that kind of role model to look up to is really, really cool.
That's so
But
awesome.
yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest one.
Figured that might be it.
Yeah.
So anything we can do to help you for that, let us be a resource for you.
About it. We'll do everything.
We'll do whatever you need. And for those of you listening, watching, like we are going to have schedules up. There's things we're transitioning in the office. I have some plans with schedules and how we're going to promote those and have those and how we're going to show those in here. We're definitely going to make sure the community knows what's available, especially in gymnastics. We have an almost 2-year-old little girl that she's already walking around on her toes. And
she needs to come for sure.
Yeah,
she has so much fun.
Yeah, she would love it.
Gosh.
Dance the whole time probably.
Yes.
Yeah. We got dance cam and everything, so.
She'll be on it.
What else do you need?
They'll find her. I'm sure of it because she'll do it. She'll just be boogieing.
Yes.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
We will keep up.
You
if you ever want to come on again, and we're probably going to ask you to be on again. Now that we know a little more about you, we can do this again and be even more intentional. Maybe we can have some other special guests. Bring your assistant coach on.
Sure.
And we can do some more. But congratulations again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes. You're very, very welcome. See ya.